I'm Betsy Barnhart, the Program Director for Industrial Design here at University of Kansas and the professor for the seniors. So we've been hanging out a lot this year. It's been great. Okay, so John Arnspeiger, you are up first.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for coming. My name is John Arnspeiger.
Website. This is the website. This is the website for everyone, for our KU seniors. So we can click on John.
All right, so these are the three projects that I'm highlighting today. The first one is the Escape Pod solar car tent. The next is a Montrail hiking shoe, and the other is a Sunbeam blender. Feel free to check out all of my projects. They're on my portfolio. Today I'm going to be walking through the Escape Pod car tent. So what got me really excited about this project is that it combines my love for the automotive world and for the great outdoors. And it all started with knowing the United States has 423 national parks, and they're all very beautiful. But in order to get to them, it requires a car. And if you want to comfortably camp conveniently from your car, sometimes you have to get a camper, which can be very expensive. So the opportunity for, if you don't want to spend as much money, is the rooftop tent. And people who buy rooftop tents, oh, wait, go back up for a sec. People who buy rooftop tents enjoy being adventurous and staying comfortable, and the convenience of just popping up a campsite wherever. Travel camp, that's sort of what they like to do. So diving into some of the existing rooftop tents, I discovered that the hard shells are much more popular because they're more durable and they're faster. And that seems to be what people like the most, is being able to set up quickly. So during my research, I discovered an opportunity space, which is that only one car tent offers any sort of solar capability, and it's this one with a small solar fan. And I thought, adding, since it's on the roof of your car, it seems like a natural place for a solar panel. And sure enough, people on YouTube were adding solar panels to the roof tent for added functionality and to power their campsite. And so a solar panel is roughly the same size as the roof of your car. It's relatively inexpensive, and it can charge your laptop for 22 hours. So it's pretty effective. So then I decided to go ahead and pick a user that this would fit nicely with. And I decided it would be Jeff, who is a gearhead. He loves high-tech stuff. He has a overlanding vehicle that he loves to take to the national parks and go explore nature and have a blast. So beginning ideation phase, I wanted to incorporate the benefits of the solar tech in the rooftop tent in a smart and intuitive way. And I ended up really liking the bold functionality of this origami style design for the roof tent. And I loved the surprising reveal of that soft tent material, and I thought that was a good opportunity for something really interesting. So I wanted it to look functional, but also bold and look like it's high tech and high quality. So this is just sort of some sketches trying to embody that design language for Jeff, trying to visually convey that bold, durable look, and also something that's classy and refined, and sort of trying to combine those elements. Go ahead. And so eventually go back for a second. Eventually the final sketch that caught my eye the most had this sort of space age surfacing across the top, which I thought really enhanced the refined look of it and that refined quality of it, which brought me to my final design. So the escape pod, the solar powered car tent. And I think what's most exciting about this is with the solar technology, there's a lot of opportunity for this added functionality that doesn't exist in the car tent market, including an automatic opening and closing, a vacuum air removal system to keep that soft tent material from getting pinched as it's closing, as well as interior outlets and an exterior extendable outlet, as well as LED lights that illuminate the interior. And so I chose this blue for the soft material because I thought it was a really bold, a bold visual for as it opens, something surprising as it opens. It looks a lot different than when it's closed. And I really wanted to emphasize that. And so this sort of shows you take a telescoping ladder that comes with it, but you keep it in your car and you hook it up, and then you can access the control panel to open it automatically, and that can take over a minute off of your setup time. So you can pretty much set up anytime, anywhere, as fast as possible, and it's all free power from the sun. And so this is the control panel. This is how you automatically open and close it, as well as turn on LEDs while you're opening it for when you're setting it up in the dark. And I think this is a really cool part. You can basically use this as a tool to power your entire campsite, whether that's entertainment or functional things like an electric stove, lighting, speakers, just anything that you could possibly need power for. And something that's kind of thoughtful about this design is that the shape allows for rain and snow to be displaced naturally without any extra effort from the user. And the tent material of these triangular windows can be unzipped to create a more breathable environment, which is admirable. And I think one of the coolest aspects of this tent also that sets it apart from the market right now is that it has a open view of the sky, so that you can fall asleep to the stars. So that's the escape pod. So thank you so much for watching. Feel free to, if you have any comments or questions, to drop them in the chat. I had an absolute blast working on this project, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm currently searching for a job or an internship to kickstart my career. So if you're interested in this project as well as any others, you can check out my portfolio or my LinkedIn, Instagram, all the above. So thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Love the claps.
Gotta have the claps. That was fantastic. Thank you so much. All right. Okay. Next up, Tori Karlin.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to this. It is so great to see so many people here, and I'm really excited to show you guys my work today.
Oh, you know what? We'll go back onto the K design. Our industrial design site takes about a few hours for everything to come over. So is it right in front of me, Tori?
If you went back to the last page, I saw it. It was right in front of you.
Was it?
Yeah.
Right there?
No worries at all. Okay, so like I said, I'm Tori Karlin. Thank you again for coming. And the three projects that I would like to show you guys today, or to, I guess, the three that I want to introduce you to, and then one I'll walk through. But the first one is my bike pack. It is a soft goods pack that I worked on at the beginning of this semester. It was just a quick 2-week project. Super duper fun. And then The middle one is the one I'm going to walk you through a little bit more. This was the one I just wrapped up with DeWalt. And then the last one on this page is my Vans project from sophomore year. Also super fun to work on. It was a very creative, like driven project and kind of had this like fun nautical whale theme to it. So check any of those out if you guys would like, but I'm going to go ahead and show you my DeWalt project to kick things off. All right. So, like mentioned, this was a project that we did with Stanley Black & Decker and focused on DeWalt. The goal with this project was to create a versatile lighting unit that could improve this person's work experience, and those people being either plumbers, mechanics, or electricians was like our focus group. So, the initial things that I did for research and development was to go in and do some store visits. So I looked at a lot of different things within those areas and then continued on and also picked up on some of the brand language that DeWalt had to offer and just wanted to better understand where to go with this project. In these initial phases, I also did some interviews, some preliminary work to try and understand what these users were liking in products. So I did one with an electrician and also one with a plumber. Those were two groups that I thought offered a lot that I could look into, and it was good to try and hear some of the things that they had to say about products that they really enjoyed and what could make them better. I also looked at existing products on the market and wanted to dive into those and see what people were really loving in those, especially based on like these lighting systems that we were supposed to be focusing on. So I looked within Ryobi and then also at Milwaukee. These products specifically offered a lot in terms of lighting. And then I jumped right into job site exploration within these users and also dove into ideation within this next phase. So I wanted to get like really in the weeds and try and figure out where they would be using these products and see what those plumbing spaces looked like. I did this for plumbers and electricians and just really wanted to put myself in their shoes. So looked into that, and then also the electrical spaces. So I just tried to see what opportunities could lie within applying some benefit to the product that I would be designing to make it better for the user. Ultimately, at this time, I chose to move forward with plumber. This was a quick, only 8-week project that we worked on with DeWalt. So we really had to dive in at the very beginning and kind of choose which route we were going to go down. So I chose to focus on plumber. And then dove into the initial ideation sketches, which were really broad and all over the place at this point. We were just trying to get ideas down on the page. And then I kind of moved forward with some of the initial ones that I had chosen to try and work on and add some benefit to, and then also dove into mock-ups. So based on my initial sketches, I chose to move forward with some things within like the smaller handheld department, as well as maybe some toolbox focused ideas. And I continued pushing those. And really tried to dive into like this toolbox that DeWalt already had. They have a great lineup within like these tough toolboxes, and I wanted to try and look into that a little bit more, as well as their smaller bit boxes. So in doing so, I also did some mock-ups in looking at what a lighting system might look like with existing things they already had on the market. These were just very quick, like sketch mock-up iterations with some foam, and then move forward. And also continue doing more exploration and mock-ups. And it was at this point that we had some product in studio, and I wanted to look and see what was giving users like positive reviews on these things. So this Ryobi product specifically was really great at having some of those like hidden Easter egg features that gave the user more functionality with a lighting system. So I took that and then also had continued exploring some previous ideas that I had in sketching, including one of these, which was just an expanding lighting system. And that was also working alongside one of their toolbox designs. And then push forward on some of those Ryobi products too, and what a DeWalt product might look like if it was taking into consideration what that Ryobi product was doing. So at this point, I shifted back again and started focusing like strictly on toolboxes. I thought that that was marrying the two concepts together the best, but I wanted to directly incorporate light into the toolbox rather than making a separate system. So the two things I was trying to marry together was this smaller DeWalt like bit box case. It's not very big. That was one of the things that the users really loved in my initial exploration, was to have just a small lighting system they could take with them on the go. And then combining some of the great features that like this Ryobi product had, or really just trying to find some general like Easter egg features to put into it. So I continued with further exploration on those ideas, trying to implement different value in the lid design or where the LEDs were going to go and how the battery was going to attach to this thing. So I pushed forward on some of those, working pretty quickly through this, and then continued to refine those ideas. So the box that I ended up moving forward with kind of married together those two things that I had previously mentioned, with these like swiveling latches that you could then attach to like a door or a pipe or something of that nature, and then also included magnets as well as those inner LED lights. So I pushed that concept even further. And I looked at a few other ideas in the next phase of things and tried to incorporate some of the things that we did within like a smaller group sketch session later that weekend, and implemented some of the things that people had suggested within these three concepts. So really what I was looking at here was just battery orientation, how to better incorporate those LED lights, and then where the buttons are going to go and how just to put the added function in with this toolbox, and also keep it within the DeWalt lineup they already have so it fits in well. So I pushed further on that and continued working through like this final concept design and made some other adjustments to give the user some added function with this thing. I did one final like grip point mock-up just so that it had like the correct orientation of where they might pick it up, or cues in that regard. And then also worked out some of those smaller details on top and side views. And then this was my refined final sketch that I pushed at the very end, and then made some small changes to this as well. One of those being that I added a kickstand. That was some feedback that I got from the team, was to try and have it set it more of like an angled so you could point it up at things. And then the last thing that I did was did some ideation on the magnets and how that would fit in best with the DeWalt lineup. So with all of that being said, my final design landed somewhere around here. This was the direction that I ended up in. It still has a lot of those same features that I'd worked on, but tried to fit it in best with the existing aesthetic within DeWalt. Here you can see that it still has those swiveling tops so that you could swivel them off and then connect it to things. Also has exterior lighting as well as interior, which was feedback that I got along the way, so that the user doesn't necessarily have to open the toolbox. They can use it standalone as a lighting system. They can point it up at what they're working at, but then they have the ability to throw some of their smaller tools within the toolbox and use it in those more confined spaces. Ultimately, we decided that this was a toolbox that could then be used for multiple users. It wasn't just limited to plumbers, and it gave added benefit by having some of the features that I added in those later phases. So one of those being that it also has like an inner lid that you can flip open and close so that you have more of a flat space based on where the battery had to go. So thank you. This was a great project to work on. Like I mentioned, it was only 8 weeks. It was pretty fast, but I had so much fun doing this with the DeWalt team. It was a great group to work with, and also just the other students at KU that chose to work on this product as well. It was so much fun. Thank you guys again for letting me walk through it. And if you're interested in anything else, feel free to check out my website.
Thank you, Tori. Fantastic job. Great work and fantastic walkthrough. Okay, Brendan, are you ready?
I am. Hi, everyone. My name is Brendan Hinsley, and I'm very excited to be showing some of my work with you tonight. The first project that I'm going to be highlighting is called Knitball. It is a lawn game that is completely made out of recycled ocean plastic. It works similar to Spikeball if you've ever played, and it aims to foster community and team building skills, the same qualities that have made the ocean cleanup project a very successful one. The next project I'll be highlighting is one that I just finished up with DeWalt. It is a stick light focusing on the needs of mechanics, and it adapts their 20-volt battery. This project really is a one-stop shop for traditional ID. You know, it's got research, sketching, modeling, renders. If you want like a traditional ID project, this is the one. However, the project that I'm going to be showcasing tonight is my senior thesis project, and it is a Mars adapted home oxygen generator. So I knew that for my senior project, I wanted to have some fun, and I was inspired by the recent landing on Mars. What's cool about Mars and why we can't live there is the fact that it has little to no atmosphere, which results in low surface pressure and causes water to boil at very low temperatures. But what's cool about this is that in a future colonized Mars with even the slightest bit of atmosphere, it would create an environment that's almost always at 100% humidity. And so that's what inspired the project for this semester. It is an appliance that pulls moisture from the air, separates it into hydrogen and oxygen through a process called electrolysis, and then stores the oxygen into canisters for a user on the go. So imagine you're a user on Mars, you wake up for your job, you grab your coffee container, you grab your O2 container, and you're out the door. So I knew I was going to need a few things to make this thing work, and I was deciding whether it was going to be a wearable solution or a stationary solution. So I did some testing over the next few slides, and it became very apparent that a wearable solution would not provide enough oxygen for the user. So I did testing with water, did testing with airflow, and then next slide, please. Here are the results. So I focused my efforts onto a stationary solution. I took the same parts, labeled them, and then began arranging and rearranging them around my home. So you can see here, this was giving me a good idea of scale as well as part orientation, and this was helpful to bring into the aesthetic portion of the project. So here, I was deciding between three aesthetics. The first one was a sterile, sleek aesthetic. These solutions were integrated into the home itself. The next aesthetic was a space utility aesthetic. These were modular forms and lent themselves really well to plug in appliances. And lastly, the soft alien aesthetic. These forms were more organic and the solutions were disguised within home furniture or decor. So out of all of these, the winning aesthetic was the space utility. It lent itself really well to the part exploration I had done previously, as well as the user storyboard. So I took elements of the mood board and started sketching around them to see how I could best represent that form language. And it turned out that countertop appliances were doing that very seamlessly. So I took them into isometric ideation. This allowed me to move the parts around really efficiently. And the final result for the isometric ideation was this. This is what I presented for our first aesthetic presentation. Moving forward, I got feedback that, you know, maybe I needed to work out the kinks of the canisters or the water tank, even the fan design. So I did some sketching around that. And here you can see that these are the changes that I made after the critique. The water tank is moved, the UI and its location has moved. The canisters are below the fan and the fan design has changed. So taking this thing out of isometrics, you can see that has a lot of thoughtful features. You know, this thing lives on Mars, but it's representative of appliances that you would go out and buy today. It has a removable water tank for easy cleaning, a custom inline plug to keep the appliance flush with the wall, safety features, and every grip zone on this device is designated by changes in housing texture, as well as rubberized material breaks. And here it is in all of its RGB glory, ISO 2, inspired by the name, inspired by isometric ideation, as well as the fact that it is O2, it is oxygen. So yeah, again, I'm Brendan Hinsley. Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it. And I hope you enjoyed.
Fantastic job, Brendan. Such a fun project. Thank you so much.
Thank
Everyone,
you.
feel free to chat. If you join in late, you can do chats directly with our students to give them feedback. And you can view portfolios, Instagram or LinkedIn by clicking on these links. Okay, next up is Troy Dunn.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. My name is Troy Dunn. Thank you again for taking the time to come and see our senior showcase tonight, see a little bit of what we've been working on. So I've got 3 projects featured here, and I strongly encourage everybody to have a visit to my online portfolio website to see more work in detail. But the first project here is my Kicker project. It's a sponsored studio, and I'm super proud of this one. It was a lot of fun. It has to do with car audio. The second project is a remote healthcare otoscope. So this is designed to be used on yourself as well as other people. And then the third project is an urban garden planter design. And this is designed to use ocean plastic to construct it with a focus on space efficiency and self-sufficiency. So I've actually been gone for an internship this semester with Garmin, which was an incredible experience. But I can't show any of the work from that quite yet. So I'm going to go over my Kicker project today. Like I said, this one was super fun and I'm very, very proud of it. So I'll let, yeah, here we go. So I was calling it Kicker MX, and like I said, it is a sponsored studio project, and it's actually a modular car audio sound system. So the problem that I was addressing was that, actually, can you go back to the first slide? Sorry, I have a few slides, but so yeah, the problem that I was addressing was that accessibility to aspiring users is dwindling because automotive tech is becoming increasingly complex. More specifically, the installation process is getting harder by the year. So this was a challenging project because the user was somebody that was very specific with very specific wants and needs. So this is the aspiring DIYer, and that's somebody that generally doesn't have access to a wide range of tools or space, but they love to solve problems and make life easier and look for new projects, etc. So my proposal for this project was to create this modular sound system that makes the installation easier and, more importantly, redefines the entry point for the car audio market. And so the early on research with this project was super crucial for my understanding of how these existing components work. So I did things like post online and online forums and ask experts what the installation process is like and what are some of the pain points for them, as well as going to a store in Kansas City that sold all of these components. And I asked them if they did the install for their customers or if the customers tended to buy the components and take it home and install themselves. They said that 90% of their customer base has them install the components for them. And that's generally just because with cars, there's just, it gets complicated depending on the car, especially as we go into the future where new cars come out. And then you can, yeah. And so the next step was to start working on some product architecture, as well as what each of these components look like and how they could go into the car, where they live in the car as well. So at the top of this page, the first component that I started working on was the control unit. And this communicates with the rest of the parts in the system and wirelessly connects to your car's radio. It uses a very simple, just peel and stick method to stick to really any surface in the car, but I sort of envision this as being something that lives on the windshield. These speakers, which are directly below that, they're exciter speakers. So they use resonance on any surface to create sound rather than a traditional cone style speaker. And same story, they use peel and stick as well to live on any relatively flat surface. The last component on that page is the amplifier and subwoofer. I'm taking what is traditionally 2 components here and combining them into one so that it's a nice, neat package to put into the trunk of the car. This next page is a quick look at what I had envisioned for a home for all these components. So like I said, the control unit would live on the front windshield. The speakers would live on a window towards the rear of the car. And then the subwoofer and amplifier combo, of course, would live in the trunk. After I modeled these up and rendered them out, I tried to preserve as much fine-tuning ability as possible. So thinking about, not only just the aspiring DIYer, but audio enthusiasts as well, if they wanted to pick up one of these, all of those fine-tuning capabilities still exist on the amplifier. And at the time, Kicker was also promoting their L7 square subwoofer. This is kind of Kicker's bread and butter right now. So I modeled up the subwoofer enclosure to accept that specific subwoofer for a nice integration with some existing components. And lastly, this is just a look at what it looks like in real life, sort of in context. Like I said, this project was super fun to do. I learned a lot too, because I wasn't very familiar with this specific user or all of these car audio components. So yeah, I hope you guys liked me walking through the process, and I'd love to hear your feedback in the chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Troy. Well done. All right. Great job, Troy. All right, Mary Grace, you ready?
I am. I guess I can just go ahead and start the intro. I'm Mary Grace. I'm from Northwest Arkansas. I've been really into soft goods design and user research recently. Some of my projects that are at the bottom. Over on the left-hand side, we have my bag product or crossbody bag project that we worked on over a summer soft goods course. And that was a really fun project that kind of showed me how to sew, but also taught me a lot about pattern making, which is really great. My next one over is a Timberland Pro work boot, where we got to think about how a user could use this, but what the next gen of work boots look like. And then after that is the project I'm actually going to show you tonight, which is the DeWalt 12-volt light for a plumber. Betsy, I promise I did link that. I guess it doesn't work though.
It's all right. We'll fix it. Everyone, you can copy and paste it.
So with this project, it was an 8-week project, and like they said earlier, it got the opportunity to work with DeWalt on it, which was an incredible experience. Working on it, we had the opportunity to pick from a user as well as a platform objective. I chose to work with a plumber. With that, we kind of went through user options, just about what a plumber would need to work on. What is he working with? Is it a flashlight? Is it a floodlight? What are they using it for? Just what kind of areas are they in? And I thought environment was really important to this user, just because typically, when you think about like under the sink kind of plumber business, it's pretty well lit, but then you also don't really get into the nitty gritty of thinking about crawl spaces, which I thought was like a huge environmental impact. And so I was kind of thinking about that as I went through this project. Looking at Reddit responses, just seeing what people really wanted from a new light, just to make sure I wasn't just, creating something that was already there. Again, really thinking about environment, took a look at what's like at the store and see what they were selling, what DeWalt actually had in stores, as well as looking at the internals of a light to see what made up a work light. The area problems that I found, again, thinking about environment, but also thinking about form, I thought the carrying was really important to the user, just because if they're working on with their hands a lot, having something that you have to hold kind of like makes you at half impact. And so making some sure that it's easy carry as well as something that it can sit up by itself is important, and making sure it's adjustable to fit the different areas that they're working in. So with that, starting off with initial sketching, I was looking a lot into modularity and wearables. How can this product be something that like is on the user at all times, or can be split off into multiple smaller lights? Kind of moving forward, we actually ended up going towards a stick light more idea, just because the grip was really nice, as well as the wearables are very personal items if you're wearing it all day. And because of that, a lot of little details go into each person of what they're going to like. And there are a lot of just different variables that go with it. So with that, we had a group sketch phase, moving forward with that 12-volt pistol grip base, looking a lot about rotation and what current products exist and how could those be used in the same manner. I like this idea of something that could switch between a spotlight and an area light, just because I felt like those were the two uses that were really important for this user. And with that, looking into the opportunity space of what DeWalt already had, there was a bunch in the 12-volt and 18-volt line, but for the 20-volt and 18-volt. For the 12-volt line, there was only one light that they had, and it was the smaller one that went with just the battery pack, and it was a spotlight. And so I kind of felt like that was a really great opportunity to kind of grow their brand and make an extension product. So with that, kind of looking at the details about what this series actually has, and finding that it's more of the compact nature, which I also felt really fit into this user's frame of mind of what they wanted. That I also went into a little bit of model making, just looking at sizing and how high that head should sit over your hand, making sure it wasn't too top heavy or bottom heavy, and just looking at proportions and how that they proportionally lined up with other products that DeWalt already had. From that, moving forward, looking at, the pistol grip was really important, but I decided not to change the grip from what already exists. A lot of the ergonomics went into designing the grip on drills that already is there. So keeping that, but moving forward with a light on the front for a spotlight, and then opening it up for an area light, as well as that open up feature allows you to kind of point down at a lot of things, which was really neat because a lot of lights only have a forward or up range of motion. With that, looking at color exploration, making sure that this fits within the DeWalt line, and I'm really hitting those VDL marks. Was important. With that, kind of talking with the mentors, I got some feedback that the flip open was good, but being able to just have it sit and work and not be able to think about this physical messing with it aspect was better for the user. And so kind of changing that from a physical change just to a dual mode switch seemed like an important change to make. And so kind of making that change, looking at what the head would look like if it didn't have that opening aspect, and making sure it still fit in the DeWalt line. I have this one on the right hand side, which is the one I moved forward with, but also kind of got some feedback to make sure that it didn't have as many rough edges, and kind of rounding it out a little more to make it fit within DeWalt better. With that, thinking about user journey, how it's hanging to carry with a belt clip, making sure it has that spotlight and hang light usage that the user really needs. And this was the revision of it, making sure that I have these bumpers that are a little more rounded, and a physical identifier for the two modes of having a spotlight in the center and an area light around the outside was really nice to kind of work in there, and still has a wide range of motion of the tilt down as well as tilting up to make sure it's very adjustable. Again, looking at those features was really important. So the dual mode switch is important, as well as a hook to hang it, pivoting head, and that 12-volt platform that we mentioned before. So this is in context of how it could be used. And this was an ad I created just to kind of really bring it home of what it would look like in the DeWalt line. So I thank you guys for listening. I really love doing this project, and I appreciate you guys being here tonight for us.
Congratulations, Mary Grace. That was great. Thank you so much. Saying that for everyone. Fantastic.
Also, I'll fix that website link. Sorry.
I think you're not. I don't think you're the only one that's going to have to do that. It's okay. We'll get it all fixed up. All right. Great job. Okay, Allie Crickelberg.
Hello.
Where is it? There it is.
Okay, so hi everybody, my name is Allie Crickelberg and I'm excited to showcase some of my work with you guys today. So the first project that I chose to highlight, which you can see on the right here, is called the OO Book, and it is a tablet laptop device that I designed in the fall for online elementary school students. And this project was really fun and obviously very fitting for the times. And then next you can see the second project that I've showcased was a really fun 2-week Blitz project that we did at the beginning of the semester, where we picked an old As Seen for TV infomercial product and had to redesign it. So I redesigned the Dental Mate into this really fun toothbrush that holds toothpaste tabs, kind of like a Pez dispenser. And then last, we have my most current project, which is called the Butterfly Jacket, which I'm going to go through with you guys tonight.
It's thinking about it.
There we go. Okay, so this is my senior project and I had a ton of fun with it. The inspiration that sparked my idea for this project was actually this jacket by the brand Diff, which shapeshifts from a jacket into a tent, and I just thought it was a super fun idea. So from there, I found the opportunity to design a jacket that shapeshifts into a hammock. And then I started off by doing some research into trends in outdoor gear and fell in love with this trend called GORPCOR, which is an acronym for Good Old Raisins and Peanuts. And GORPCOR has come to represent outdoor wear meeting everyday street style. And then GORPCOR is inspired by what you see outside, and the style includes really voluminous silhouettes, earth tones, and retro colored brights. And then a GORPCOR user is anybody who wants to give off the I camp or I hike vibes, but isn't necessarily an outdoorsy person. And then next, I started looking into the function and ideating what this product might have, or must have, should have, and could have, which you can see here. And then from there, I moved on into prototyping and I built a ton of different prototypes for this project, which was incredibly helpful. And I started out by making some initial models in varying scales out of some different materials, which you can see here. And then I just did some research into materials and decided to move forward using this 1.9 ripstop nylon, which is super breathable and lightweight and can hold up to 150 pounds in one layer. And then now moving forward to my more refined prototypes, here is the first one. And then, so here you can see played out how this will work. So basically the jacket itself is one large 5x12 piece of material that only requires minimal cuts to ensure its durability, which is also ideal for manufacturing, of course. And so in the GIF and in the drawing, you can see how the hammock folds in half and then snaps together to quickly turn into a jacket. And then here you can see some more details on the jacket itself. And then here you can see it in hammock mode, and then how you can cinch up the elastic in the arms to put them away while you're hammocking. And then here is my second prototype function option. Here you can see that prototype B works similarly to prototype A, but instead of folding in half, prototype B has a zipper stuff sack that the other half of the hammock lives in while it is a jacket. And then here you can see some more details on the jacket itself. And then next you can see the hammock. And then here you can see the two functional options side by side. And it was a super hard decision, but I decided to move forward with prototype or function 1. So lastly, for function, I wanted to find a way to incorporate everything required to hammock into the jacket itself. So I started ideating ways to use the remaining parts, the carabiner and the straps, to make it into a belt for the jacket. And now moving into aesthetics. I knew that I wanted to incorporate some fun prints into this project. So I did some research into key print trends for the coming years and chose 2 directions to use as aesthetic inspirations. The first trend being mineral markings, and the second one being furnishing florals. And so here is my first aesthetic direction, inspired by mineral markings, feeling like you're in nature, and earth tones, and the sky, of course. Then I did some ideating on different ways that I could apply the aesthetic and narrowed it down to this concept that's on the right. And moving into my second aesthetic, of course, it was inspired by the furnishing florals, and it is voluminous, playful, and bold. And I pulled a ton of inspiration here from the Gucci and North Face collab, which really as a whole was a big inspiration for this whole project for me, but I loved all of their prints. And then here are my ideations for applying the aesthetic and the concept on the right that I chose out of all of these. And then here is just a wrap up of the 2 aesthetics that I have, and ultimately I ended up going forward with aesthetic 1. Okay, so here is a little sneak peek into the process of making my final prototype and all the supplies that I used. And then, of course, I needed to make the material for my project. And I decided to dye this white and robin's egg blue colored fabric to create my own custom fabric and tie-dye print. This was a really interesting experience because the material is waterproof, but it turned out really great, and I'm happy that I ended up tie-dyeing it myself. And here is my final product. And I thought it was very fitting to photograph this at my favorite hammocking place on campus, which is next to Potter Lake. And then here are some different side views. One thing that I really loved about the final product is how when it's a hammock, it splits in half with the tie-dye and the blue, but as a jacket, the tie-dye kind of becomes a lining for the jacket. Here's just another photo of it in action. And then here we just have some more close-ups of the jacket itself, as well as the belt and the carabiners. And then here is just some details on the hammock, as well as the pockets in the hammock and how they function from the jacket to the hammock. And then finally, I just have a couple pages here of my tech pack, which is just calling out some of the important features. And then here, I just have some information on all of the different materials that I used. And then the page that is loading should be my last page. So thank you so much for listening to me, and feel free to check out any of my work on Behance and to give me any feedback in the chat. But thank you so much. I had so much fun working on this project.
Fantastic work, Allie. I think I can say for everyone, it's so much fun to walk through this project. It's so much fun to walk through all these projects. They're all so unique and so you guys. So thank you so much. Great job. Hooray. Okay, Rose, are you ready?
Yep. Hey everyone, My name is Rose, and I'll let Betsy load up the page here real quick.
Yes.
I'm primarily interested in soft goods and fashion design. I draw a lot of inspiration from my hobbies and other people's hobbies and cultures and interests. The first highlight project that I want to show is my skate shoe. It's inspired by Peggy Oki, who was an original OG skater back in the day, the only female of one of the original skate groups back in California. And the next project I want to show is a Kicker sponsored project. It's an audio system for motorcyclists to use, specifically cafe racers. It's inspired by their culture of meeting up at cafes and listening to music together on the road and at the cafe itself. And the project that I'm actually going to walk through tonight is my senior project, which is a concept-based cycling shoe. So I was heavily inspired by a designer named Nicole McLaughlin. She's one of the big voices today in this movement about concept footwear. As you can see, her designs are really playful and imaginative, and she puts together these materials that you wouldn't expect to be in a shoe, so that it like breaks the bounds of what you might normally think of as a shoe, and therefore extends ideas about what a product could be. It's very tongue-in-cheek. It's about consumerism and sustainability. She actually gets all of her materials secondhand and builds them from there. And it's also mostly, and what I want to talk about is conceptualism. It's about this phase in design that's very, very early on, where you're coming up with these products very mild to wild. And this is all about embracing the wild side and not holding back whatsoever. So this is a bit of a glimpse into what concept footwear looks like. It's about, like I said, finding those areas one wants to explore in a shoe and what can make a product work. And what makes it so valuable is that later on in the process, someone can find inspiration or take from it and build something that can be used and perform really well in today's standards of industrial products. So for my background, I was really wanting to just dive into bikes. I love bicycles and bicycle building and bicycle riding, of course. I also just loved the culture behind it and knowing that every little product that these cyclists buy are very like personal and belonging to themselves. And not only that, but there's so many different interesting materials and things to work with. And on top of that, they also take all these things with them just in case like they pop a tire and need to patch it, or need to, even just carry a key to lock their bike with. So very early on, I was just completely out there. I did not hold back, of course, and I decided to just like take anything that I had around the house that had anything to do with the bikes and cut and paste basically onto this shoe. And I found so much joy and inspiration in that. And then I decided to go a little bit more digital from there because I didn't want to be held back by constraints from just what I had. And so I was just thinking about if there is like a bell on the toe, or if you used a tire for the sole, or if you had a bike bag on the back of your foot. And one thing I want to highlight on this page is the tire sole. I love the idea of having a just literal bike tire as a sole for a shoe, and was really inspired by that. So these are my more refined concepts. I wanted to take it back and think about the upper of the shoe as well, not just like things that could be attached to it. And so I sketched these out as a thoughtful experimentation into that. And this is my final direction. I have the chunky mountain biked sole with a Kevlar reinforcement. It's got the jersey upper where you can store things, neoprene ankle with an ankle biter that is essentially like Velcro, I'm sorry, a Velcro ankle adjuster. And here it is in context. So if you have any questions, please feel free to message me. And thank you all so much for coming. And thank you, Betsy, for being such a great professor through this semester and this year.
Aw, thank you. Great job. Another great project. Thank you, Rose. So fun and so you. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, Tristan, you're next.
Hi guys, my name's Tristan.
Hold on, where is it? Did I pass it? Oh, there it is.
All right, so the first project that I would like to highlight tonight is my ocean cleanup planter, which was a monarch butterfly raising box. And then the second, I think they're all one. Yep, the second project is a in-house sanitizing product, which is in the form of a drone. And then the third one, which I will be going through tonight, is a running shoe. So I was really excited to do a running shoe for my senior project because I've been a competitive runner for years, and this is just kind of a full circle moment. And I got to interview, some people about it. So starting off, about 70% of runners experience injury. And a big way to prevent injury is by wearing proper footwear when you're running. So I went and interviewed college cross country and track team just to kind of get more insights on what they're going through and what their footwear looks like, how it's holding up. And my findings were that most of their shoes were breaking down or showing wear on the bottom before they are anywhere else. And many people are waiting longer than they should to replace their running shoes. And replacing your running shoes should happen about every 300 miles. Some people it takes longer, and some people you should replace them faster. So from here, I wanted to create a running shoe that had a replaceable sole because the upper can last about double what the sole lasts. And I just started looking at some different ways to attach the sole to the upper. And then I went into some testing and landed on my final concept, which would use almost like command strip adhesive to attach the sole to the upper because it provides the least amount of friction and the most stability. So this is how it would work. There'd be a pull tab on near the back, and you just pull it, take the old sole off, put the new one on, and then you're ready to go. And then from here, I started looking at different aesthetics for the shoe. What could this potentially look like? And this is my first round of ideating. I wanted to look at that break line where the sole and the upper would attach and try to make the form as fast as I could. And then this is my refinement. Once again, aesthetic one, I was looking at keeping it simple and minimal. My aesthetic two, this one was the more aggressive aesthetic. Kind of has punchy lines. And I think we passed aesthetic 3. And yeah, next. So this is the final form that I landed on. And from here, since I'm creating a brand with this shoe, this doesn't live within an existing brand. I wanted to pick both a symbol for it that was representative of rebirth. So I chose Phoenix, and kind of incorporate that into the form of the shoe. So I went forward with this bottom right concept for my final direction. And this is the final concept. It would have a knit upper and an EVA foam sole. You can see on the left where it detaches. Yeah. And then this was just me exploring some colorway options, trying to break up the forms of the shoe, but not make it too busy. These are the final colorways that I landed on for options. There's a big render of the shoe, and then I have an in context right there. And that's what we finished with. Thanks, guys.
Great job, Tristan. Congratulations. Double applause, yes. Excellent work this semester. All right, next up is Grace Ells.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for coming tonight. I'm Grace. I'll wait for Betsy to pull up my page. Also, my computer's been lagging a little bit, so apologies in advance if it's a little slow.
Should be up.
All right. So for my project, starting on the right, this was just a 2-week really fun sprint project over the summer in our soft goods class where I designed a crossbody purse, just super fun. The next project is Bluebird, and this is a ski and snowboard virtual reality simulation for an at-home gaming experience. And then the project that I'm going to be walking through is this life vest that can adjust to different torso and bust sizes. So it should be in the soft goods page. There you go. All right, this is Reshaping Safety. When I started my research, I found out that men have been the default for personal flotation devices, and it left women with PFDs that didn't fit them appropriately. Also, the ones that were made around women and that accommodated better assumed a standard size progression for the bust to waist ratio, and had smaller cup sizes for smaller bodies and larger cup sizes for larger bodies, and that's not the way all women's bodies are. This is a problem. There are no life jackets that account for varying breast sizes and torso sizes. So it really leads to ill-fitting vests for women, and it creates large safety risks and uncomfortability for the users. So my concept was to design a general use life jacket that can tackle that adjustability so that we can have inclusive bust and torso sizing ratios. And then with that, also try to tackle the chafing caused by squish side boob, and then keeping breasts in place when you're in the water to lessen the flotation. To start off with, I looked to sports bras for inspiration. And what I found was that the shoulder adjustments and then the under bust adjustments were really the key areas for having a really wide range of sizes. And this left image right here can accommodate cups A through I, and it had both. So I really wanted to incorporate that in the life vest moving forward. I started sketching and really focused on those areas of adjustability and where that could be and how to, account for flotation in the water. And then I sketched to explore different structures in the vest, because I had to keep in mind that this is thick foam that will be used. So how to create a three-dimensional space with foam. Then I started to do some mock-ups. Concept one wasn't really adjusting to the body as it needed to, and the lacing was just kind of difficult. And then concept two was better. However, the top strap that I had for compression really didn't do anything. So this led me to concept three. And concept three, I was really focusing on the foam construction as well, and really looking into how to create a three-dimensional space with the foam. Back one. Okay, and then just found that it was a lot more effective for the places that it was adjusting, and then that top strap pulling back and towards the back of the vest was a lot more effective in its ability to compress on top. So moving forward, I looked into some aesthetic directions. This first one being more focused on ocean, just really vibrant blues and oranges, and then also kind of reflecting those patterns that we see in the ocean as well. And then my second direction is more focused on highlighting the utility aspect of this life vest, and also maybe incorporating some muted tones. Just really highlighting utility. And then the third direction is just really vibrant and bright colors in a more color blocky type way. So moving forward, I narrowed it down to these four. I kind of like them all, so it was hard to pick. But ultimately, I went with the blue and orange one on the top, as you can see here. I just really liked that it was more simple in the color choices, but it had a really fun pop of color in the neoprene side. And then moving forward, this just highlights the features of the vest. That upper chest compression strap is there to lessen the breast flotation in the water. There's a floating compression molded bust, which basically allows a three-dimensional form to be created to fit different cuff sizes. The adjustments are on the sides rather than the front, and that prevents breast squishing in the front. And then the underbust and adjustable shoulder straps, again, are those key areas to adjust to different bust sizes. Then we also have the compression molded torso, which allows the straps to fit to the body instead of the foam. And then lastly, there's a neoprene siding and shell, which really creates a barrier between the strap and skin. And yeah, this is just an in-context shot to show you how it looks. Thank you all for coming tonight. I would really appreciate your feedback through the chat, and I hope you check out some other projects in my portfolio.
Fantastic work, Grace. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. And thank you, Betsy, for an awesome year.
Thank you. It has been a great year with you guys. Such a great group. All right. John McElwee, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. You're right on the top.
Perfect.
Next spot.
Hey, everyone. I'm John, and I'm super excited to kind of walk through a couple of my projects with you guys. This first one is a chair that I did my sophomore year. It was kind of one of the first times that I had a key shot render like really work out for me. So it kind of holds a place near and dear in my heart, and I just like to show it. This next project is a wading boot that I designed while interning at Orvis. And I actually received some pretty good news a couple of days ago that the release date for this was moved up, so it'll actually be hitting stores within the next few days. So I will have a product on shelves by the time I graduate, which is kind of insane to me. And then this last one is the light that I designed for our sponsored studio with DeWalt, and this is the project that I'm going to be walking through in a little bit more depth with you all. So kind of breezing through the brief and everything, I designed an 8-volt light for a plumber. I chose the plumber just because I felt like the environment that they were going to be working in was going to be really challenging for the user specifically. And so I felt like there were a lot of exciting opportunities that I would be able to explore. So I got pretty excited about this user. And then this is kind of the user that they had outlined for us, but just talking about how they're working in pretty cramped conditions, either under sinks or in crawl spaces under houses. So a lot of interesting things to keep in mind. So off the bat, I went straight to the hardware store and tried to get my hands on as many power tools as possible. And the main goal with this was just to see different stylization or different ergonomic solutions, and just see how different forms were handled within the power tool space. And from there, I did some light user research, and Reddit was my best friend for this. I just wanted to dive really deep into the forums and see, what this user was asking for specifically, what their needs were, what their wants were, where they were going to be working, and then kind of what people were going to be suggesting to them. And the big takeaway from this was pocketability. They just wanted this thing to be super small, to be able to put it in their pocket, not have to worry about it taking up any room in their toolbox or anything, and fitting it into those really compact spaces. So having kind of a little bit more of a narrowed focus, I was able to get into my initial sketches. And through this process, we really liked lights with a theme of stability. So anything that you see with kind of like tripod-like legs or kickstands coming out of them, just anything that's going to stabilize that light in kind of some of those rougher terrain areas. From there, getting into initial mock-ups, tearing up, existing products, seeing what was inside of them, and then just getting like really basic models down to get a sense of scale, how things would feel in the hand, and kind of starting to suss out some of those initial concepts. From there, I was able to further ideate on some function, get a little bit more specific with the directions that I was wanting to go into. At this point as well, I was thinking about the orientation of the batteries. This being an 8-volt platform, it would have 2 4-volt cells. So thinking about the orientation of those batteries and how that would kind of affect the form that this light took on was pretty important. So from there, I was able to get into some more refined mock-ups, just getting things that were a little bit more accurate to size, really seeing how they were going to fit in the hand, getting them, into the environment. This one was tested by the cat, took a couple of hits, stayed up, so it was kind of a fun proof of concept that the tripod would work. And then with this next one, after I'd kind of constructed this and I was holding it and I was getting it in the environment, it started to become clear that this was going to be the direction that I wanted to move in. The kickstand is just super easy to use. So when you want to prop the light up, it's super easy to fold out, as well as that pivoting head makes it really easy to kind of point the light wherever you want to work at. And then overall, it's just a really stable form and pretty compact. So this was kind of the direction that I wanted to move in with the rest of the project. So from there, it was just refining some of those smaller details, thinking about, what that kickstand would look like, how this would be constructed, and starting to get some of that DeWalt styling in. And then after that, it was really hitting the brand refinement, because obviously getting that big DeWalt logo on there is going to be super important for them. So wanted to make sure that I was getting it right at this step. And then that got me to the final product. So like I said, kind of the big thing with this light is that pivoting head combined with that kickstand. Just gives you a really versatile light, huge range of motion, and overall just kind of the perfect package for this user. But yeah, it was a ton of fun to work on. Thank you all for coming out and listening to this all. It was a lot of fun. The people also at DeWalt were super awesome to work with. So thank you, everybody.
Fantastic job, John. Great project. So great to see you walk through it. Well done. All right. So yeah, everybody can check out all of our students' work on their portfolios through the site. I don't know if people are popping on as we go here. So we'll just say that. And then if people have feedback, in case there's anybody new who jumped in late, just please through the chat will be perfect. So everyone can hear what you have to say. Hopefully great things. I'm sure great things. Okay. Ryan Mayberry, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. There it is. Getting better at that.
All right. So my name is Ryan Mayberry. I'm an industrial designer based out of St. Louis, Missouri. My 3 projects that I uploaded here that I want to show off. The first one on the left there is a all-in-one music creation tool synthesizer based around sort of bringing the music creation process all into like one device that you can sit down with and mess around with a very simple form factor. My next project, which was the one I'm going to be walking through today, was a guitar synthesizer fusion project, sort of based around a cyberpunk aesthetic. And then my third project that I've uploaded here is a planter that we worked on last year, which is based around using recycled plastic. And for this project, I focused on creating a garden space that was easy for tight urban spaces and for people who had never really gotten into gardening before and maybe don't have a lot of time and energy to devote to it. All right, yes. So this project that I worked on this semester was a synthesizer-based guitar. In this project, I really wanted to focus on my own love of music, both as an instrumentalist, multi-instrumentalist, and also a love of electronic music, and sort of talk about like that fusion between those 2 genres, and also, you know, combined with that, my love of science fiction, which anybody who knows me knows that I love to, when I'm sketching and drawing, I like to, you know, incorporate that into my sketches. And so, yeah, this project was about sort of incorporating that aesthetic into my work. So the cyberpunk aesthetic that I sort of went with, there's a few sort of focal points that I wanted to look at when I was thinking about this aesthetic. Cyberpunk as a genre sort of focuses around like the retro future and exaggerated utilitarian aesthetic. So sort of taking that ruggedness and sort of turning it up to 11, but at the same time, sort of having a societal commentary on the use of old becoming new, scavenged parts, and sort of kit bashed products. And so a few things I looked for inspiration for when I was first starting this project in terms of like translating that traditional format into a digital format. On the left there is the Casio DG series, which is a really old, from the 80s project from Casio that sort of went under the radar until recently, where it really popped up as like a cult phenomenon. Really just sort of cheesy 80s design, kind of hard to use because it's, you know, technology from the 80s. And on the right there is the Roland Aerophone, which also I think is a really brilliant blend of sort of traditional like saxophone playing blended into like the ability to use digital sounds and experiment with digital sounds, which is something that I wanted to explore. So when I was starting to look at like the body design of this thing, one of the things that I was looking at was I had some that were, you know, very much just like objects that were, you know, these boxes that were put together very like off field. And then I had some that were more reminiscent of guitar bodies. And that's the one that I sort of decided to go with, was the body that sort of was more reminiscent of sort of like a Fender Les Paul style, like rounded guitar. And then when I was thinking about controls for this thing, you know, how would you interact with like the settings? How would you interact with like changing music settings and changing instrument sounds and editing that? I was thinking about, I was looking at a lot of the stuff that was out there, and I was thinking about this idea of like sort of kit bashing. And so I was thinking about other technologies that maybe if you were in this like futuristic landscape, you could like find and attach to make into this like combine technology. And so I looked at things like the iPod and Game Boy as like sort of like consoles that could be attached to this thing to interact with it. And so this is the final design I had. It uses a combination of pickups and pressure sensors in the neck to translate what you're playing into digital signals, which can then be played as a multitude of sounds that you can edit using the center console there. And so a few of the things that make that work, I added a volume knob there on the top, and I wanted built-in speakers as well as audio out so that, you know, if you're sitting around with just your friends, you could just take this thing out and show it off. Down on the bottom there, I have this sort of Game Boy inspired control panel, which I wanted to sort of mimic the aesthetic of like it just being like attached on there as like this kit bash thing. Yeah, and so for the CMF options here, I went with 4 of the most cyberpunk names I could think of to really drive home the point here, and have a few different color options that reflect different sort of science fiction aesthetics. Thank you, everybody, for showing up to this, and thank you, Betsy, for being an amazing professor and encouraging me on this project when I was a little bit lost.
My pleasure. Great job. Oh no, my applause. There we go. Way to wrap up a very musical year. I love it. We have such a broad range of projects this year. It's very exciting. Well done, Ryan. Love it. Okay, Erica Lobo is up next.
All right. Well, my name is Erica Lobo. It's great to speak with you today. It's just been a really, really fun year. I've had the wonderful opportunity to intern as a biomedical designer at KU Health System and represent KU in the finals for IDSA Student Merit Awards. So it's been really, really exciting. And I'm looking forward to continuing my design journey at Ingenious Design starting this summer. For my 3 projects, I chose an in-helmet and external speaker for Kicker, which kind of showcased my love for servicing individual needs of users. For my other project, I chose the K-Tel steamer pen, which really kind of showcased the element of fun in design. And then for my last project, it was a haptic microvibration heart rate monitor for dogs to continuously track anxiety and to create an autonomous solution. And it kind of showed me the capacity of technology to be used in unlike fields. Today for my project, I'm going to go ahead and show you my K-Tel Tailor marker. I chose this project because its 2-week deadline kind of really pushed me both in terms of speed and deliberacy, and it was just super, super fun. So the K-Tel Tailor marker is kind of a bit of a, I guess, a cheat to Tailor tacks, which are able to increase accuracy and help people that are kind of beginning sewers. So what was really interesting about this field, though, is while sewing is rather unchanged for years and years, what's really changing pretty rapidly is the market. And there's a lot of young people getting involved in it, with Joanne Fabrics creating this new idea of a like next gen. So I don't know, it really spoke to me because I'm kind of in that group. So I kind of started a bit philosophically, I guess, doing this idea of what does it actually mean to tack? And I started experimenting with these different ideas of markation. So roll tacking, steaming, alternative holding, pinning, and kind of what that can mean for my product. I kind of came off these ideas of this fabric pinner, which continuously distributes pins as you roll it along your fabric. This roll tacker, which continues to leave a like tacking mark. And then this steam press pen, which leaves a like finite imprint on your fabric so that you can mark where your pattern is without actually piercing the fabric. I ended up landing on this one just because, I don't know, it was kind of weird. And I thought it provided this really awesome opportunity to create some really fun CMF moments for my younger generation and to experiment with textures and colors on that front. And so here is the first look at my K-Tel Taylor marker. So how it works is it's very similar to kind of a like micro electric kettle. So you take out the water basin, fill it with water, and then you're able to change your tip if you want a single seam, double seam, button press, or any other finish you would want. You are able to heat up the water, and then you leave a small imprint in delicate fabrics for kind of a bit of a damage-free mark of where your pattern was. So here's kind of a bit of in context. What's really unique about this solution is it's a lot more forgiving than piercing the fabric, because what can often happen with tacks is as you sew over them, you end up piercing and leaving holes. So this kind of provides a bit of a common ground where you can use it on everything from kind of heavy duty fabrics to more delicate silks. So here is the exploded view. It's a pretty compact piece, but what's really interesting is it's able to hold 8 ounces of water, so just a cup, and so it's able to last you throughout the course of your sewing project. And here are some detail shots. Thank you guys so much for attending today. Thank you, Betsy, and I look forward to hearing your feedback and comments.
Fantastic job, Erica. And what Erica didn't say was this was a 2-week project, sprint project, where the students had to redo the old infomercials. They had to pick a project from one of the old infomercials, the K-Tel infomercials. So this was hers. It's very exciting. So there's blackmail somewhere.
I should have showed the infomercial with the ketchup blood.
Yes, they all had to make their own infomercials. It was really fun. It was the perfect start to the semester. So well done, Erica. It's such a pleasure, of course, to have you in class. And this is such a fun project. And well done within a 2-week period of time. Great job.
Thank you, Betsy.
All right, Bryson, you're up next. Bryson Halverson. Let's see if I can find you. These ones are uploaded, the most recent. This site is the entire KU design site. So the Department of Design includes visual communication, illustration, photography, and industrial design. So, but if you click on these, like by tomorrow, it'll just have ID, but with everything updated, but it's taking a while to get up to speed.
Okay, so hello, everyone. I'm Bryson. I chose these 3 projects because I felt like it was the best expression of my different interests. And the first one is Rhoda. That is my steering wheel for the Focus ST. The second one is the Metapod. That is focused on senior living and keeping seniors in their homes with medication management solutions. And then the third one is Kicker LSX, and that is challenging what a subwoofer enclosure can be and how it can be more useful in the space of the vehicle. So I'm going to be going through the steering wheel project for the showcase.
Is there, should I just go to your website? I'm not seeing it.
Yes, I put the links back on there, but they've disappeared again.
Did I spell your last name wrong?
No,
There
that's weird.
we go.
Okay, that works. The Behance.
Does this work?
Yeah.
Okay. We're making it.
Okay.
We're making it work.
Yeah, Behance is fun. Okay, so this is my project, Rhoda. It is the steering wheel for the Future Focus ST. So why the Focus is the first question. So the Focus, I don't know if anyone else in here is an automotive enthusiast, but the Focus is a vehicle with somewhat of a cult following. Some of the history I posted right here just to see the evolution of the Focus interiors as a whole. The buyer demographic is important because this car is very centered around catering to different income levels and different age demographics. So I wanted to figure out what the actual issues were with current design. So I decided to use Reddit and Facebook to get some feedback from some of the automotive groups that are focused around the Focus, pun not intended. So from that feedback, I decided to do some basic prototyping on the control layouts and the overall shape of the steering wheel itself. From those conclusions, I decided to move on into foam models to figure out the grip ergonomics, so the shape of the actual grips themselves, to see what felt more comfortable, what felt more intuitive, and what fit the most with the design I was going for. After prototyping, I moved on to aesthetics. I wanted to use the Focus itself for a lot of the inspiration, body lines, contours, and surfacing, as well as other more aggressive styling cues from different automotive projects that I've come across. I began by doing this one part at a time, kind of like a puzzle, just to see if I could figure out the best solution for different parts of the steering wheel as a whole. From there, I began to put these different pieces together to figure out what was the best combination for the user themselves and what fit the best in the aesthetic world that I was trying to get this product to live in. From the feedback from the first round of aesthetics, I did some quite large changes and decided to go in a more cohesive direction, pulling more from the Focus's current aesthetic and current body surfacing on the exterior, as well as the wheel designs. In doing so, I rendered 3 directions that I felt were the most, that made the most sense. And from there, I got some feedback once again and used that feedback to come up with a final direction. This is the CAD map that I used to do all of the surfacing and CAD modeling in SolidWorks, as well as material graphs for different components within the steering wheel itself. And that leads me to my final concept. This concept is quite different because it incorporates variable control surfaces. The way that works is Ford uses a system called Sync and its infotainment systems. And the control surfaces, because they are a carbon fiber opaque layer on top of an actual touchscreen, as well as physical buttons that allows light to shine through, and those screens can actually change through the material but appear to be carbon fiber. So that allows you for constantly variable controls and lets the user choose where and what they want to control on each control surface on either side of the steering wheel. And here's an in-context shot. And thank you guys for listening to my presentation, and thank you guys for coming today. Feel free to look at my portfolio for other work that I have done in the past.
Great job, Bryson. Thank you so much. Yeah. Keep doing that. Just so excited. All right. Fantastic. Okay. And Blake, Ellis, we have 2 more students to go through. We're shockingly on time. I probably just jinxed that. I'm sort of notorious for going hours over time. So well done, everyone, on staying on track. It's hard to get through these so quickly. Okay, Blake, it's all you.
Yeah, awesome. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, well, yeah, thank you all so much for coming in. Betsy, if you want to go ahead and highlight some of the three pictures that I have down below here, and I can just tell you briefly about all three of these and why I chose them. So this project was a group project that I did with John and Troy in my class here. And this was a really interesting project that I think my experience at KU, maybe it might have been one of the more valuable ones, because it actually, not only did I have the opportunity to work on technical skills, but I also got the opportunity to ask myself, like, well, as a designer, am I actually even really helping right now? Sure, I might be solving a manufacturing problem or even like a customer like issue, but from a saving the planet and being responsible and actually really recycling, is this doing that? The next project, if you want to click to that. So this was a Kicker audio project. You already saw Troy, and I'm not sure if anyone else showed any more Kicker projects here, but I was in a group that was for marine audio. And the idea was, can we bring more users or more demographic into the Kicker brand? And so this was a product that, with a team of people, we kind of identified a possible like need. And this was my final execution on that product. And so from what I learned at KU and how this was significant to me as a designer, basically this was the whole gambit. This was, how do you actually conduct valid research that's going to inform a company? How can you apply your technical skills in the right times to actually move a project forward? Or if you're going to suggest a new feature, how are you going about doing that with your presentation skills? And then finally, you also have like rendering, in context, and technical componentries that you're all putting inside of it. And then the last project I included because this was one that I felt was a milestone for me in actually understanding form and aesthetic and purpose within like actual design. So sometimes it's function is driving the form. Aesthetically, you have a goal that you're trying to match a VBL. And then other opportunities are looking at, well, what is the actual environment and can we conform to that? And so this was a project that I actually really got to focus on those. All right, so if you want to go ahead and go to the marine audio, we can quickly run you guys through this one. So as you scroll down, you'll see the first design statement here. And this was something that we came up with Kicker themselves. And it was asking, well, how can we get more females to actually engage in the project? Currently, right now, it's a really male heavy, heavily dominated industry. So as you scroll down through here, and actually, Betsy, if you want, you can just kind of keep on a steady scroll and I will just comment to what I'm seeing in front of me. So the group actually put together that research process. That was a 2-week process that we actually identified what other marine solutions there were for trying to engage other women. And the gist of what I had was, if we can design something that's approachable, that women can see, interact with, and install themselves, we have an actual, a valid solution. Utilizing some of the design thinking methods, whether you're asking what must be here, should be here, could be here, going through the 5 whys, like, well, why does a woman want a speaker on her boat? Because she wants to hear music. Well, why does she want to hear music? Because she really, maybe that makes her feel a certain way. Going through all those different exercises kind of gave me these 4 must-haves that I was really going for. Multiple locations in the boat. I identified that we really want to see or hear music either in the water or at the front of the boat, in the back of the boat. Easy to install. It's got to be customizable, maybe so it can actually empower her, and obviously aesthetic. So if you want to keep, I don't know, maybe you are scrolling and it's just lagging on me here. Hopefully you guys are seeing some of the ideation sketches right now. Betsy, are you hearing me?
Yeah, there's a lag. I'm moving in it and everyone's taking a while to see it.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'll just keep talking through this. So if you're seeing the sketches on the screen right now, This is showing different, either if it was a VBL aligned goal or a feature goal. So you can see concept one, this is a general aesthetic that is more minimalistic, and it's a speaker design that has 2 large subs and then a rotating speaker in the middle. Concept two is kind of integrating more of that, the functionality of like, well, can we implement maybe some accessories that you can add on to it and customize it and make it your own. I'm sorry, that was concept 1.2. Concept 2 is a different VBL. So this is something that's probably more in line with Kicker's current lineup, but it's going to be more demonstrable. It's definitely going to stand out more. And is this the direction that we would want to go? Concept 3 is more of a utilitarian kind of approach. You can see here, it's like what you see is what you get. It's not over decored or even large. It's trying to be small and purposeful. And then concept 4 is the low hanging fruit. Obviously, Kicker Audio wants big, loud speakers everywhere. Is this a boombox design that could be on an actual like pontoon boat? So what I did to actually narrow this was between personal friends, classmates, coworkers. I had about 20 females look through those sketches that you see there and try to get feedback, you know, like, well, which ones like make you guys more excited? And basically concept 2 and concept 3 actually came, it was the utilitarian design or the one that actually really looked like Kicker Audio speaker. So it was demonstrable. And from that point, I was able to actually build a VBL or style board. And that's what you see here. Underneath this style board, should start to see a few refined sketches, really narrowing in on what the shape is going to be. Is it going to be over like we're going to do the geometry? Are we going to simplify it? Trying to think about the space and the environment that it's in. Is it again, how aerodynamic does it really need to be? The shape of the hull on a boat actually really started to help me think about the form on this. And by the time I was at digital renderings, I was pretty closed in on the actual 3D shape, what type of features that I wanted it to have, and I was ready to move into CAD. The renderings below this will show what I came up with CAD, and I'm trying to communicate some of the features that I put on this. There's a video playback screen, a simple just one touch button that can control the whole thing. There is a clamping method that was also thought through and how you can easily pull this thing on or off the boat. Underneath this, it should show some of the renderings of it being taken off. And then just the components that are inside. You have batteries, you have amps, speakers that are going to be rotating. Is there enough space for that? Simple little sketches like this were enough to get the school project through just the communication phase with their engineering team, and didn't need to go any further than that. By the end here, I'm kind of asking myself, just did I do what I said I was going to do? Is this something that can be put in multiple locations of the boat? Is it easy to install, customizable, and aesthetic? The product breakdown below talks about different apps, Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music. These are all different platforms that are fighting to try to get more users. And if this product could help any one of those apps stand out, maybe that in turn helps this product move. And so things like having the screen on it can really help, like Spotify do videos and playback features. As you scroll down, you'll see also there is a light mode or a dark mode. You know, if there's RGB lighting, backlighting that can help this thing take on a new face at night, it really helps to enhance the experience. In the final rendering, you should see an in-context shot that kind of shows the scale in relationship to a boat and how big the thing is. And that, you know, we've got a few images here that you can click through, but that should resolve this this project for you guys.
Thank you. I should say that Blake was gone all year and we missed him very much. He was at GE for the year for their year-long internship. And it was a wonderful day and a sad day when we found out that he got that because we missed him all year. But pretty great that he had that experience. So we missed you, Blake, but so glad that you were able to participate today and that you had such a great experience all year with GE.
Yes, ma'am. It was awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. All right, and last for the evening, but not least, Jake McClure. Let's see. Here we go.
All right. How's it going, everybody? My name is Jake McClure. I'm from Olathe, Kansas, and part of industrial design that I really feel speaks to me is soft goods and even more specifically shoe design. And so the first project I'd like to talk about on the right is my Timberland Sustainable Shoe Project. And later on, if you check my portfolio, I actually have an updated render that is of this exact shoe. But I really enjoyed this project earlier on, I think it was last year, being able to work with a sponsored Timberland Pro shoe concept really like brought me into the industry and helped me understand what I'd be getting myself into. Next, I have my Kicker speaker project, which is a speaker designed for UTVs and a hanging setup for the workspace so that workers can go around the job site, different areas, and still have access wherever they are. And then my last project, which is my senior project, which I will be talking about today, is a shoe transporter bag, which I've been very excited about in the process this year. All right, and so yeah, as I said, this year I chose to select a shoe transportation bag as my senior project. Just some initial research I got into, looking at the shoe industry as a whole. This market is climbing exponentially, and just in like the next couple of years, the market size is growing immensely. So there's definitely a lot of room for products to be designed for these users, and that's why I thought that this bag was interesting. Just quickly going through research, some current products I looked at, I wanted to look at different ranges in prices, as well as uses of these bags, so I can get an understanding of where my user would fall. I went in and did some interviews with a lot of different people and who have different types of interest in shoes, whether it was real collectors, people who value their shoes a lot, or people that just need shoes on the go for whatever they're doing throughout their days, their personal hobbies. And so I also looked online. I looked at some online feedback and comment sections, looking at shoe bags that are on the market, pluses and minuses, pros and cons, what I was seeing, and trying to get an understanding of features that I might want to pursue and not want to pursue. And then I went ahead and just focused on the opportunity I wanted to dive into, which was the sneaker user, sneaker collector who really values their shoe, really wants to pride themselves on their shoe safety and cleanliness, and being able to display those shoes in their entirety at a high level at all times. So yeah, these people would be collectors in every aspect. And so my initial prototyping, I started by doing some measurements with a larger size shoe, looking at the amount of pairs I wanted to implement, which was 3, and just getting some basic understanding for my product space. And I went into more prototyping with some actual soft goods, understanding if I wanted to fit as much as I was thinking at the time into this bag, what the sizing would be, and how that would turn out. And then with that prototype, I went through some trials and errors, found what was working and what wasn't working, At the time, I was still pursuing the idea of this obviously being a travel bag, but what if this travel bag could be adapted for more travel purposes than just shoes? And this helped me understand things that I wanted for my bag, but also a lot of directions I didn't want to go in. And then from there, I really decided to focus in on that user and what they needed, even with it being a travel bag, as being a sneaker enthusiast. And so really looking at aesthetics that brought them in and focused on their personality, which would be unique in whoever was using the bag. So I found streetwear opportunities were the best, and I started with some initial sketches, just getting an understanding of what kind of organization of a bag I would want, whether it was a duffel or a backpack or a crossbody or whatever the case was. I went forward, did some more sketches. You can go ahead and move, Betsy. Yeah. And so then I started getting some real understanding for features that I was thinking about, how I wanted this user to interact with it, but also how I wanted other people to see their sneakers and see this bag and what its purpose was. And so features that really showed off that aspect of the bag. And so then I started refining on those features, thinking about other bags and what they're using and calling out those features and being able to implement that into a bag, understanding how I kind of wanted this bag set up at the time, with shoes being stored on the inside in a secure manner, being separated from each other, making sure that they're held in tight in their position, and yeah, being stored in the most effective way while keeping true to the shoe's value. And some more sketches. At this point, I was realizing that I was having fun with this bag and I was liking where certain things were going, but I really wanted to hone in on one specific aspect of this user that would really drive this bag while letting the other aspects support it. And so I started focusing on not only organization of the shoes, but primarily shoe safety. And so going forwards, I started thinking more about my aesthetic and refining it down to more of a hard goods, soft goods pairing with an outer shell, having something that seems like it's very off limits and secure while it still has the value inside. Started getting an understanding for materials right away for all different parts of the bag, because this had a lot of different materials in the composition. And then I went ahead and started doing a little bit more sketches just to understand where I was going with this product. I'd already kind of had a good understanding for it being a backpack and the features I wanted to place inside the backpack or outside the backpack. But I think I started moving forwards with the final form of this central locking unit as a big aesthetic feature on the bag to kind of explain the bag for itself. And so this is my final concept and render. And the whole purpose behind this bag is to embody what the sneaker head, as you would say, really feels about their shoes. And so being able to display them wherever they're traveling, having a central compartment that's maybe a little bit more off limits and hidden, where they could hide not only sneakers that they value a lot more, but also more of their luxurious things. But the sneaker head really prides himself on that luxury aspect and being able to show it. But also with this being a travel bag and with it being a sneaker protective bag, safety is a big option or a big thing you need to consider. So I had to think about the outer shell and the giant central Cobra locking system, kind of giving an outward look to other people that are going to be viewing this bag as they're walking by, and explain to them like, this is my bag, regardless of what you see. And then this is just a quick couple pages of tech pack evolution that I did, where I just planned out some different materials, dimensions, and colorways. But yeah, I had some fun with this product, and I can't wait to see what else I can do with it. But for now, yeah, thank you guys so much for joining this class period, and and seeing all of our work. And if you have any time to check out my portfolio and see some other things that I have done even recently, I would greatly appreciate that. But thank you so much for your time once again.
Fantastic.